within a period of about 3 or 4 months, they've been able to go from 0 to around 25 to 35K per month on TikTok Shop.
We brought 9 of the greatest artists from around the world and across the industry and just said, we're going to give you artistic freedom. At the end of the day, we're renting deep expertise that we could never assemble ourselves. The sense of community that those TikTok lives build, it's dialogue about characters and their backstories. The first time we did a live, we had maybe 40 followers. What you all did was, quite frankly, just give us a roadmap of, okay, there's a process here. Our problem isn't creativity. Our problem is eyeballs and getting the message out and telling the story.
Today, we're sitting down with Michael. He's the president of Kaleidos Creative, and they came to us about 4 months ago when they were doing about $0 a month. I don't think you guys had actually started on TikTok Shop yet. And kind of seemed at the time there was a lot of feelings of overwhelm, maybe intimidation of the platform. Didn't know kind of what the best strategy was going to be and the best approach, but you had the right team for it, but weren't really sure how to cold start. And so within a period of about 3 or 4 months, they've been able to go from 0 to around 25 to 35K per month on TikTok Shop within that time. And we're going to kind of break down and talk a little about how we did it and what we did and the experiences that we went through together. So Michael, again, appreciate you being here, man, and being willing to share this, because I think there's a lot of people that can get a lot of value out of this too. So thank you.
Glad to do it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, maybe what we can start off with is, you mind just giving a little bit of an introduction about you and your company, and then we can dive into the first question.
Perfect. So Kaleidos Creative came out of a lunch conversation between Ben Butcher, the former head of creative at Funko, and I. Ben had just left Funko and we'd worked together at Funko. And so we sat down and we said, if you could do it again and do it right, how would you do it? And that's what created, after a year of brainstorming and ideas and thinking about this, that's what created Kaleidos Creative, an artist-led, people-first company where we brought 9 of the greatest artists from around the world and across the industry together and just said, we're going to give you artistic freedom to create your own characters, create your own content. And historically, companies have focused solely on licensing and licensed properties. And so it was a bit of a gamble, but it's paid off very well, because today's consumer is desperately looking for something fresh and new. And so the Kaleidos Creative products fit the bill very well. And so we started selling product. Our first revenue was in November of 2024.
Yep.
And then we started selling on our website shortly after that. And we were doing kind of incremental, small steps.
Yeah.
And then we ran into the representatives from TikTok at New York Toy Fair in February. So that led to a series of conversations. And as we looked at it, we're a small company of 12 people. We're going to stay small intentionally for a while, because we want to accomplish something that allows us to come to scale without a high burden of cost. And so our conversation that led to us engaging you all was, we need deep expertise. We need it on a variable cost basis, and we need to be able to scale the business intelligently, but also to not get over our skis in terms of hiring and fixed costs, but leverage expertise. I mean, at the end of the day, we're renting deep expertise that we could never assemble ourselves.
Yeah. No, I love your story too. And one thing I really, as someone who has an e-commerce brand too, I think one thing that I really love about you guys is you've come with expertise to the industry, but you've also done your product really well. And like you said it was a risk, but I think that, like, with the product side of things, I think that that's made it a lot easier for us to work together and be successful, because at the end of the day, you have to have a great product, and having a great product almost helps you market it, right? It's almost a marketing mechanism within itself when you have a great product. So I think you guys really crushed that in bringing something new and fresh to the space.
we always talk about authenticity, and there's really kind of three elements that play into that. One is the passion that our team has for what we're doing.
Yeah.
Two is their capability. Our artists are quite frankly phenomenal, said the non-artist. And then the third is humility. Yes, I have, 25 plus years of supply chain leadership experience. Ben's got creative experience going back to 1994. All those things are true, but we approach this with humility and with passion. And so, like, when people ask the question, like, okay, so you're going to take on something new with TikTok, what's your first choice? Select the right partner that can navigate us and guide us through the intricacies of this. Because if you get it right, it can be an amazing experience, both for the consumer and for us.
Yeah.
And if you get it wrong, it's just a slog.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sure. Yeah. So take us a little back. Let's kind of dive into a little bit of the story here. So before you kind of said you introduced a TikTok in February. I know there were some other things that you guys were working on prior to kind of going full-fledged into TikTok Shop. Give us a little bit of a background, a little bit of context here of what was kind of happening at Kaleidos before you even started on TikTok Shop.
Yeah. So when Ben and I formed the company, we did two things that are strategically important. Number one, we partnered and not just, the nice buzzword word of partnership.
Yeah.
Our team made a significant investment, and they own part of our company.
Yeah.
The second thing that we did is we struck a marketing arrangement with Hot Topic and Box Lunch, and then they invested in us as well. And so we had literally a vertically integrated company supply chain from factory all the way to retail shelf.
Yeah.
And so what that meant, and this is an important element of the story that I want everybody to understand, we didn't go out and hire our own marketing department. We have, one person, Kristen, who's phenomenal, who helps us out on a contract basis. And so we did not make a big internal investment. What we said was, look, none of us knows how to do this. Let's go get people that have expertise and capability in this, and let's do it on a variable cost basis, because then you can up and scale down, because we don't know what the outcome is going to be. So don't set a fixed cost until you know what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's very intelligent, because the more and more brands that I work with, is what I see a lot of happening in the industry is that a lot of people who run e-commerce brands, even like a small size scales, anyone doing between, even like as low as 10K a month up to like 100K a month, what happens is a lot of times payroll gets inflated, where even if you're profitable as a company, you still need to cover your base. And so what happens is you play this like game because you need to maintain a level of revenue at a certain return in order to also cover payroll, but also stay profitable and be able to have cash flow. So I think that the way that you approach that was really good, because, when you hire someone in, I mean, we made the mistake even at GameNetics is we overinflated our team at one point, but we had to unfortunately let people go because we were like, our payroll's too high right now for where the business is. And so it can be very difficult conversation to have and very difficult to go through. So I think that the way you approached it was a smarter way to do it, because it's not that it's just when you're working with an outside partner, it's just easier to kind of make the changes you need to make. When you have to go to your employees and tell them like, hey, like, sorry, like, we got to make some cuts here. It is a bit more painful.
It is. And so the other thing that's important is every one of our employees has shares in the company. So like when we operate in what some would consider an overly transparent environment, but our artists, we've been able, not only do our artists understand the economics of the business, but they appreciate, like, we don't sit there and sugarcoat it and, do the Lego movie and everything is awesome.
Yeah.
We lay it out in terms of, okay, like here's the number we have to hit, keep this going and building momentum. And Jordan, the other thing that's fascinating to me is that as I go through this process, when Ben and I started this, we couldn't get people to return phone calls, right? We were trying to get investors, we were trying to get partners, and everybody's like, yeah, whatever. And so now, coming up on 2 years later, hey, guess what? Now everybody and their brother is calling, so it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But I think that the so what of this is your company, Krista, Goldwood, Hot Topping Box Huts. These are folks that took a risk with us as we were building this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think that element of a variable cost model combined with selecting the right expertise
Yeah.
really has to be both an expertise fit and a cultural fit.
Yeah.
And so, because we had to operate in the early days and even today with a high degree of humility. And I think that's where your team did an exceptional job of not saying you need me in it. No, it was just, hey, we're going to learn this together. Everybody knew that your team had the deep expertise and had done this over and over again.
Yeah.
But you didn't, wave that in the team's face. The team was, nervous.
Yeah.
We all, by and large, as an organization, somewhat introvert. I'm probably the only extrovert in the group. But, and so there was a timidity there. And so what that meant was we had to really kind of, hey, everybody, let's be brave. Those first couple lives that we did, and heart rates were going probably 250 to 300 beats a minute.
Yeah.
Everybody got through it. And so when you do that, what you're realizing is you're stretching your capability.
Yeah.
And I think every particularly young organizations like ours has to be very honest with themselves about what we're good at.
Yeah. 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 No, I like that. And we do try and, create a space because there's a lot of education. There's a lot of, with TikTok Shop specifically, especially the way that you guys approached it with really leaning into TikTok live streams, which is, some brands go maybe more of a videos and running ads route or a TikTok Shop live stream route. That's where you put your heavy focus. And so there's a lot of needs from the company in order to, in terms of time input into the platform as well, and so and we already knew going into that because you're a newer brand, we wanted to help you learn and educate you on those things better, because at the end of the day, if we can enable you guys to be able to understand it better, then we're all able to win together, and I think that that's really what made the dynamic between us work really well and got us to where we are today. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I guess I wanted to ask you too, before coming into TikTok Shop on the company side, what were some of thoughts and feelings that you had about TikTok Shop before you got on the platform? What did you believe about TikTok Shop before you started?
Yeah. So, it's interesting because we came in at the height of what I call the period of uncertainty, where the status of TikTok was as of yet undetermined.
Yeah.
Maybe it was determined, but probably didn't know. So it's interesting how that all played out. But we came at it from the standpoint of we know full well, and we had early signals that told us that our product was going to resonate as a global product more than just a national product. And so the TikTok decision really made a lot of sense for us because we saw what other people were doing. And there's no secrets here. Copmart is crushing it on TikTok. And so when we had the early stage conversations with TikTok, that we're looking for a strong number two to come in behind them and, bring freshness and newness and something that makes this more sustainable, not just, the tulip craze and then it dies off. And so that's what intrigued us.
Yeah.
What frightened us was just, wow. When we started understanding and starting getting educated on the requirements and what it takes to be successful and the amount of time and energy and effort and administration that goes into it, I think we were taken aback. So I look at that third week of June timeframe as kind of where we were just holy cow, these lives are scary.
Yeah.
Going to do them ourselves. That's before we brought B and Coco in, who thrive in that environment.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we didn't yet know how to make this successful. What levers do we need to pull? What promotions do we need to be part of? What activities, what practices make this thing go even better?
Yeah.
And I think, when I back up and I look at it, and we've talked about it as a team, part of what makes our business successful is because we've been very careful to choose the right partners and then empower those partners to act on our behalf, as opposed to, sitting on top of them and asking them every, 50 times a day, what are you doing? You say, no, you are an extension of me. You have done this. I have not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I approach it with humility and say, I'm going to give you the resources to go get this done for us.
Yeah.
And we took a thoughtful approach. We looked at a lot of different potential solutions. And what really resonated with us selecting you as our partner was the same thing that resonated with all of our other strategic partners. Oh, the process, technology, and the culture. And by the way, culture is 90% of that conversation.
Yep. Yeah. No, I felt that from day one too. Like, it was just such a connection that we had. And I knew that, whether we were going to work together or not, I felt like you just feel a certain connection with people. You kind of all think a similar way. And I think that collaborative environment that we had, where it was like, okay, we have things that we're going to do. We have things that we're going to do over here. And we're going to collaborate and work together and be humble and approach this as like, we're going to do this together. And I think that was really, really good. And a lot of like the values that we have also aligned. So it was just, it almost feels effortless when you have the right partners and the right people you're working with,
It does. And you hit on something that's really important, which is, we really had to coach ourselves to say, okay, we've chosen Jordan and his team. That means that we're not playing, we're not 6-year-olds playing soccer every day where people just run for the ball. We're actually playing to position now. And that means that we need to focus on content. We need to focus on people that can be on air and lives and building that community. And we need to focus on personalities that the consumer wants to connect with. That's the big, that if you said to me, Mike, what's one of the big takeaways? It's holy cow. The sense of community that those TikTok lives build.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was going to be like, okay, I'm here to present this item and if you want to buy it, you buy it now. No, it's dialogue about characters and their backstories, and it's building those emotional connections between the consumer and our brand and our characters.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. I think that it's live streams can be like, especially when you start doing them, they are extremely overwhelming. But like you kind of get used to them a little bit. Like I remember at Gameetics, I was hosting a lot of the live streams, and I mean, you get through even 30 minutes to an hour live streaming, you are tired, so it does take a lot out of you. But yeah, there's definitely like a strategy behind making them successful. And, you guys have been able to do that very, very well. But I am curious though, was there anything when we started, like before we started working together, was there anything that you were most skeptical about when you were kind of considering working with us?
So the thing that I was the most skeptical about was, I think on TikTok, the first time we did a live, we had maybe 40 followers.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm like, okay, like if we're going to throw a party and I sure hope somebody shows up.
Yeah.
What you all did was, quite frankly, just give us a roadmap of, okay, there's a process here. And by the way, here are the things that matter. And here's some things that, we'll fix those later. But right now you need to really get delivery and order confirmation and all these are the basics that you've got to do exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And, and we took some lessons learned in that, quite frankly. We thought we were really good. Oh, we got it. No, because the level of expectation was higher. And I think, if anybody's out there listening, what I would encourage is, hey, first off, it's a great solution to expand your direct-to-consumer reach, no doubt. But it requires a level of expertise and an executional precision many small companies don't yet have that. They will, but in time, they'll build the systems and processes that allow them to do it. But when you're early stage, you get there by brute force sometimes. And I think TikTok Marketplace or TikTok Shop really forces you to have some things buttoned down, like how do we scan orders? When do they get scanned in the system? There's less there. And so, we had to tighten up those types of things too. And so I think, what really has been, if you said, Mike, what's the biggest surprise?
Yeah.
I'm always on our lives. It is probably more than I should be, but I love engaging and listening to what people are saying and how they see the brand and how they engage the brand and how they engage our teammates. And, there's times where you look at the number of people on the live at any one time, that number that's up in the right corner, you're like, and there's more people in my family than that. Right? You're like, are we? And then, but you get to the end of the call, the live, and you've got 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 people.
Yeah.
Who are on that live over the course of the time. And so what it teaches you is you've got to constantly be presenting and refreshing and renewing your content so that, the people who fall in love with your brand and stay on those lives for hours at a time.
Yeah.
The people who come in for 30 seconds, look around. If they don't see anything that interests them, they're boom, on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have this bifurcated model of communities that build, that become friends with each other, and they network and they talk about our products and they share their experiences and their unboxings and everything. And then there's people that are just, I'm here to buy something. And if I don't see anything I like in the first 30 seconds, I'm out.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's actually very interesting that you share that. And I think that one other thing too is like, when you started getting and started doing lives and you were kind of getting into a good rhythm as a team, was there like a moment for you or the team that you were able to experience together, or there was like an aha moment that you had that you were like, oh, okay, like TikTok Shop is going to work for us? Like, was there a moment or period of time where you kind of realized that like this was a good decision?
Yep. And I can even take you down to the day. It was July. Yeah. And it was when, we had an influencer that, we didn't pay. He just loved the product. And so he went online and all of a sudden, man, we saw just a spike in activity and interest and participation and all that. And I think that was the moment where I was like, okay, yep, this thing has achieved critical mass. This thing has a fan following now, and it's got enough authenticity that the conversation has shifted from who are these people to, wow, owned IP, artist-led, artist freedom. I think, one of the biggest challenges that we probably didn't anticipate was, the first year you're hoping somebody will actually return your call. The second year, once you get visible, now all of a sudden everybody wants to leave their current employer and come to work for you because it looks better.
Yeah.
And so we've had to be really thoughtful. And, the reason that we stick to that moniker of we're going to stay a small team and we're going to pick the right partners on a variable cost basis, because we don't want to inflate our SG&A and our head count only to have something go sideways in the economy again.
Yeah.
Remember, right as we were really hitting our stride and getting going, we got hit with a 55% tariff on goods from China. And so nobody had that in the plan for the year. So we have to be prepared and build a resilient business that can withstand whatever may come.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's cool to see like just those moments that, kind of help you solidify or, whenever you have a moment, I mean, it goes for anything, right? It's like when you have that moment where you're like, I think we made the right decision, and it just hits you. You're like, okay, like we're on the right path. It's pretty cool that you can remember down to the day when that happened.
The second kind of magic moment for us and for me in particular was there was a woman that was on a bunch of our lives, and I followed her on TikTok and engaged with her in dialogue. And what I found out was this person was, looking for something fresh and new. We didn't give her any product, and yet she's done multiple unboxing videos and kind of display videos that tell the story of what a great experience it is.
Yeah.
And when you build authentic fans like that you're not paying, here, I'll pay you and you go to, no, this is just, hey, if you like the product, buy it. If not, no worries. And so I think what that did was that was really the wake up call for me that said, oh, there's something bigger going on here. TikTok is allowing us to become visible.
Yeah.
To a much, much, much larger and more diverse population.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's, discovery platform, right? So it's, you do the right things and, TikTok will allow you to be seen by lots of new people. And I think that's what you guys have really been able to do well on the platform too. And it's, would you say that like just with the discoverability on TikTok too, like have you seen an impact in other areas of the business from just being present on TikTok?
Yeah, I actually, just because I'm a fairly analytical person by my nature, I've actually started to do plots of the time frames where our TikTok lives are going. And I started mapping our www.kaleidoscreative.com versus against it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a 39% higher frequency of purchases on kaleidoscreative.com during lives than non-lives.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
I caution myself. But between midnight and 4 a.m, that's probably not all that productive.
Yeah.
But as we become more global, our order, distribution across the 24 hours of the day is becoming wider and wider.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to get a little bit specific with you right now, and just kind of look at a couple of kind of like looking back at where we started. I think this was around, June time. You guys had, kind of a couple of sales come in. I think you were on TikTok Shop, around end of May initially. And then we had, 1 month after, which was, it was actually the month of August. We did about 33K in GMV. We sold about 1,200 units. And then from that time, we've done just about, I think, 82,000. So, a little shy of 100K GMV. Yep. Which is, in the time frame that we had, I feel like that happened fairly quickly, and I think that you guys are pretty happy with like where we're able to get to. But take me a little bit behind, like into like Kaleidos Creative a little bit, and some of the things that maybe been shared with the team or from you that you've noticed and really helping you to grow and scale that quickly.
Yeah, I think number one, one of the biggest concerns we've had since we first launched our product in November of last year.
Yeah.
Is, I came from working 10 years at Nike where we had 99.8% brand recognition. Was creative. We have 0.00098% recognition. And so my big concern was when we went down that path of, well, we're going to partner with a marketing agreement with Hot Topic. We're going to leverage an external resource to help us. I was worried that we weren't going to get enough eyeballs on us to catch and drive the activity. And so part of the decision around TikTok Shop was, okay, this is going to be new. It's going to be scary. It's going to be something that's outside our comfort zone, but it's going to get eyeballs on our product.
Yeah.
What we kept hearing over and over again was, oh my God, this product is amazing. Like Ben and I traveled to Thailand to the Bangkok Toy Fair right after, and unfortunately, tragically right after the earthquake. But we were there and people just looked at our product. We're like, oh my God, this product is beautiful. Well executed, quality, detail, everything. And we looked at each other and we were like, wait a minute. Our problem isn't creativity. Our problem is eyeballs and getting the message out and telling the story and resonating with consumers in a way that helps them build an emotional connection to the brand. And when we realized that, that's when, and so we had the Thailand trip, we had the New York trip, and those two items coming together was serendipitous because we're like, okay, here's an opportunity to get a bunch of eyeballs on our stuff, right? Some of those eyeballs might be there for 2.5 seconds. Some of them will become super fans. And, and by the way, I love the fact that we're building a pool of super fans even on TikTok. I didn't even know that was a thing. And so, it's been really cool to see all that.
So moving on to another question here. What was harder than you expected when it came to TikTok Shop? What do you feel like you ran into that was a bit harder than you initially thought or anticipated?
Two things come to mind. Number one, we had to do more work with our fulfillment center and making sure that handoff between our fulfillment center and the carrier was cleaner and tighter and much more well orchestrated. That was a big lesson learned because they had performed relatively well in our .com business, but at the same time, when you look at the requirements of TikTok, that was one where we had to tighten up our processes, put some additional systems in place, and make sure that there was a clear line of custody from our fulfillment center to the carrier to the consumer so that there was that tracking and traceability all the way through. The second thing that's kind of related to that was the concept of refunds.
Yeah.
And so we really had to kind of think that through ourselves because we had not kind of come up with a strategy around it. We just kind of had to kind of call it on the fly. So getting our logistics fulfillment center integrated into the supply chain requirements of TikTok, and then really kind of understanding how we wanted to position relative to refunds and returns and those types of things. That took a lot more rigor and a lot more thought than we put it into it up front.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that with the SLAs and the requirements from TikTok, they're a lot more strict. So it really tests your the fulfillment side of the business for sure. And I know we had some hurdles there too. And I think that's like one thing that maybe a lot of people don't expect coming to TikTok Shop, but I think that with them trying to compete with Amazon, with them wanting to get packages out quickly, they've definitely been pretty tight in some instances on shipments, and it can be tough for a brand if you don't have the right systems in place.
And it's interesting too, because going into it, I thought that 90% of the purchases would be made during the lives.
Yeah.
So the card purchases, the live purchases, and then, all those things range, and they're about a third. And I think that was a wake up call for us because we kind of went through that additional process of, there's not too many people on the live. We're not getting a lot of deals during the lives. And then once we realized, okay, you do those lives and those videos propagate out, and then the cards are there all the time. I think that was kind of what I call the force multiplier effect. Okay, we don't have to be on live presenting something.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, it's a good point. I think that a lot of brands struggle with that too. So you're not a singled out brand that has gone through that too. So yeah. So, I know that kind of where we are now and, approaching about 100K GMV in total since we started TikTok Shop, we've really been talking about building a lot of these internal systems and really helping to internalize and build almost an asset within your company now going forward. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit of what is, as we work together on these goals over the next even 6 to 12 months, what are your goals for TikTok Shop? Where do you want to be GMV wise, and where would you like to be as a brand in say the next 12 months?
Yeah. So we're on, we're doubling month by month by month in terms of total revenue. We're at that part of the curve.
Yeah.
But I think what I want to see, and what we want to see, and what we've built into our 2026 plan is, basically a year over year doubling of our direct to consumer budget. And so, when we did that plan, we had to say, well, wait a minute, we've only had about 3.5 months of TikTok. So our basis can't be double the 2025 number. We actually have to do a
projection. Yeah.
Okay. What will it look like when TikTok Shop is running a full year?
Yeah.
and what will be kind of those viral driving moments. And so what we've had to have is a maturity to say, okay, we're going to plan it here, but when those viral moments come, and they come, you have to be, you've got to be ready to respond. So
Yeah.
from an inventory standpoint, we've adjusted our inventory allocation. And I think, to answer the question, we'll probably be on a direct to consumer basis, up over 2 million just in direct to consumer. And we're already on pace. If you just took our daily receipts right now and flat line them for all of next year, we'll be at about 2 million total. So we're comfortable with that. And we're taking, quite candidly, we've taken a little bit of a more conservative approach to planning for 2026, just because of, we've just lived through some massive uncertainty without getting in causes or thoughts on that. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But we've plowed through that. So we're building what I call the 2025 was the growth budget. 2026 is the resilience budget.
Yeah.
Budget says, we can scale, we can weather the storm, what may.
Yeah.
We've got a business model that works. We've got, enough gross margin to cover our SG&A needs plus anything else. And then we're in a really strong position to start to scale and grow this thing.
Yeah. It's been really cool to see growth. And I think that you've, for a brand to double every month, that's not super common. I think that brands have different growth periods, where there's new things being built, and then, things will plateau at certain points where new systems or new things need to be built. But I think that, even looking at what you guys have already done on TikTok Shop, and there's really no sign of that slowing down. I mean, you're already at a 300-400K a year run rate, right? I think that even doing 1 million on TikTok Shop next year is totally in the cards for you guys.
Right. And remember, our direct to consumer has TikTok, it has our own website, and it has conventions and cons and those types of things.
Okay, yeah.
And so when you cobble those together, we're actually right on the same path of kind of how we're thinking about TikTok, how we're thinking about online, and then how we're thinking about direct to consumer through some of our distribution assets as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Well, excited to be along for the journey with you guys and help and support you guys in that way. So I guess I wanted to ask you, one of the last questions here is, if any brand owner asked you, should you hire X Factor, or should you hire Jordan or his team to help me start and scale TikTok Shop, what would you tell them based on your experience?
It would be completely disingenuous to say anything but yes. And the reason that is because we got to where we are because of you all. And we did so knowing that we were bringing in that expertise that we did not have. And so the answer is clearly yes, we would recommend you to anyone. Secondly is we would recommend you to very small companies or even more established companies, because I think part of what makes services or advisory firm successful is the adaptability to be able to take a infant organization by the hand and guide them through it, but then also to be able to adapt their approach to a more established and more extensive brand and be able to tune their engagement with that company to match the needs of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer is clearly we would recommend you to anyone. Secondly is, and we would do so because of the three things I talked about earlier: great expertise that is scalable and defensible, variable cost model, and adaptability and an authenticity that's consistent with our culture.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. And if someone's looking to kind of get a bit of an insight into actually what it's like to work with us as a brand, as a client, what would you say the experience has been like? What has it actually been like working with myself, my team, and how that has gone internally with your team as well, and the feedback that you've heard internally from Kaleidos?
Yeah. I always think of these type of relationships on on three elements. Number one, technical expertise. Do they know how to do this, and have they done this, and can they answer the questions that range from the inane to the highly complicated, nuanced? Really, got to think about how you respond to that.
Yeah.
And then part two is, do they have the emotional intelligence and the maturity to be able to say, yep, that question, is very basic, but I'm going to help you through it. And I'm going to explain how all this works together. Like, I look at the work that you and Montez did on a couple of his videos you did for us. Like that was top shelf, I guess, in any organization. Because, I've used it as an example of, like, okay, if you really want to get training, development, and information sharing to stick, this is the way you do it. So technical expertise without the emotional intelligence and that doesn't work. And then third is just the cultural understanding of, we're a young organization, and we are in a, and quite frankly, we're in the fear cycle. The fear cycle is, we created something. Is it going to sustain? And can I keep this thing going and scale it? And so we always have to remind ourselves, which is the best way to fight the fear that comes with starting up a company, is to surround yourself with incredible expertise, and more importantly, to do it on a variable cost basis so that you're not burying yourself in a cost structure that you can't cover.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mike. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate all your time doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. And we just love to work with people who, again, it's just that culture aspect, right? You said 90% of that is culture. It really is that, right? Like, it really is a big part. And so we've just appreciated, you guys, and being able to work with you. It's been definitely a highlight for us this year. And, we really look forward to continuing to work with you and support you guys in the growth and the goals that we talked about here today as well. So just again, thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure.
It's been our pleasure. You've been a great partner, and you will continue to be a great partner.
Thank you, Mike. Well, thanks for your time, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. See you, Mike. Bye.